Welcome back to the continuation of the task where we are looking at the correlation between temperature and vegetation cover. We've worked through the land surface temperature. Now we are going to go through the surface reflectance. So that is the second data set we want to clean up. Okay. So what we're going to do is that we already have this data set and the variable name is SR. So we are going to sort of work on this data now. So we're going to work through the surface reflectance data, so SR data. So that is what we're going to work on. And what we're going to do is we're going to filter that. Okay, so again, very similar to the temperature data, what we're going to do is to filter that. So again, we need the same date as when the temperature data was collected. And then we had many bands. So let me go back here. So you can see when you type into the browser here, which is the browser here, you can see that this data is collected, and we looked at the various bands here. Sorry, we just had this exercise in the previous video. So these are the bands there. So we're going to compute NDVI. So once you are going to compute NDVI, you need two bands, and the bands we need the near infrared band, which is this one here, and then the red band. So we need red band and then near infrared band. How do I know? By the wavelength. Okay, so we are going to select the first two bands in the list, and that is what we're going to do when you go to the script. So what you have here is to select the first two bands, and so that is selected. And then once we have that, for the time span, we're going to find the average, right? Because you need a single image to compute spectral index. Remember, we covered that in the previous videos. So be sure you watch that. Said I'm going to run this now. So this is all about processing the data set so that we can use that to do our test. Okay, so when you click here, we got two bands, right? So the red band and then the near infrared band. We're going to use this data. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is that we are going to compute NDVI. So we've covered this in the previous video, so please just be sure you have watched the previous video. I'm not going to repeat myself here. So what we have here is computing NDVI, and we're going to use an image. So this is an image, so we need the functions in the image to use that. So I'm going to go to here EE image, and the method we are going to apply is the expressions method. So if you go to E, which is expression, for we're going to use this method. And like I said, we've covered this earlier, so I'm going to use this method to compute NDVI. And so that is what I have produced here. So I'm going to explain the script in a sec. So we want to we create a variable called expression, and then we put the formula for NDVI in there. And then once you've put in the formula, you ask yourself what is NIR and what is red. So here we are going to define the argument. We require two bands, the near infrared band and the red band. So here we have defined what the near infrared band is and the red band also is. And so once you have done that, now we can apply the expression in this variable here. We can apply it to the function, and then we rename it as NDVI. So this has thoroughly been covered in previous videos, so just please watch that. Okay, so we have created a variable called NDVI, so we know we have NDVI layer. So the next thing we are going to do is to produce a histogram. We are going to produce a histogram. Produce histogram. So we are going to create a histogram for this NDVI layer. So to create histogram is a chart. So what you need to do is that to plot or to create a diagram or graph, you have to go to here, not here. You have to go to user interface and user interface dot chart. And then here our data is image. So we have to stay with image, right? Here. And then here you are going to find the right tool to use or the right method. And so we are going to use histogram. We are going to use histogram. So this is the method we are going to use. And so you have to read through that. It requires many arguments. So not all of the arguments are compulsory. Many of them are actually optional. So see the required ones, the mandatory arguments. So image is one of them. We need to specify the image, and then the computer can produce the histogram for us. But our data set is global, right? And so we want to include region. We want to produce the histogram of this image for the study area. So we need to include the region. So we're going to define region, even though it's optional, we are going to take that. And then we also have to define the scale. So in this case, we'll try to define the scale, and all of the rest we just, disregard them. Okay, so that is what we're going to do here. So how do you do that? So I'm going to copy the whole of this. Just going to copy the whole of this. Hopefully that works. And then when I'm going to paste it. And so once I paste it, what I'm going to do is that just give myself a space here, just further space. And then I'm going to wrap all of this into a curly bracket. Why? Because I want to define the arguments. So I want to define the argument for image, and also for region, and then for scale. Okay, so I don't need these ones. I'm going to leave without these ones for now. So once now the key is image, but what is the value? So I need to do that. And so I'm going to call this, what is the image? The image is SR, right? So the image is going to be the NDVI layer we created. So here I'm just going to copy. This is the image we're going to use. So I'm just going to copy this and stick it here to define what the image is. And then the region, I'm going to use the region of interest. You can we did that earlier. Where is our ROI? So this one here, I'm going to specify this ROI. And then the scale, we know that this is half a kilometer, so that is 500 meters there. And then so this is, but I have to assign this to what? A variable. So variable, and then what I'm going to do here, I'll say chart right. So the next thing to actually do is to print the variable chart NDVI, and I'm going to print that. And once you run the script, you are going to see the chart printed to the console. All right, so I'm just going to click run here, then just keep my eye in the console. There you go. So this is the histogram of the NDVI layer. So you can click on this icon here, and that to open the whole chart in a new tab. Okay, so this is what we see here. So you can see that on the x-axis you have got your NDVI values, and then the y-axis is the frequency. Okay, and you can see the NDVI values are actually between, they are fit between 0.2 all the way to about 0.6. So that is the range of NDVI values for the pixels in the image. So this is your histogram. You can always download it as a PNG when you click here, or you can even download the data set itself as a CSV file, and then you can go into Excel and plot it if you want to. So this is the histogram of NDVI. So in the next video, which is going to be a continuation of this work, we are going to now explore the two data, which is temperature and NDVI and see the relationship between them through scatter plot. I'll see you in the next video, okay?